I know this video isn't my usual sort of content. Just please bear with me for a little while. A dark room, like Inscription, the game whose music I am straight up stealing for this video, is a game that is very much more than it first appears. It's a minimalist text adventure, it's a clever survival game, and it's a post-apocalyptic horror. But I'm getting ahead of myself, especially with that last one. A dark room starts out as minimalist can be. There are 4 lines of text. Text along the top, underlined and bold, declares that you are in a dark room. Right below that, a button, light fire. On the left, 2 lines of feedback tell you that the fire is dead and the room is freezing. There is only one thing you can do, and so you light the fire. The very early game of a dark room, now a firelit room, is exactly like this. You sit and click the button to stoke the fire for the first several minutes. But eventually something changes. The running little message bar on the left tells you that a ragged stranger stumbles into the room and collapses in the corner. This is the first true event in the dark room, one that leads to the expansion and all the things that follow. And then, you're no longer just in the room. Suddenly, a third column appears, titled Stores and containing 4 wood, and now it costs wood to stoke the fire, but you can go to another area titled A Silent Forest to collect more wood. Look, I've already referenced Inscription once, plus I'm using its music for this project, so it's a bit on the nose, but promise this is the last time. DarylTalksGames, or is it Daryl Makes Games? One of the two. His video about how Inscription toys with you was a huge inspiration for this project, and I think the way it, minor spoilers for Inscription, perfectly sums up how Inscription pulls the rug out from under you and keeps expanding its magic circle and the rules of its world. I think that is very similar to this expansion in A Dark Room. And mind you, every new game introduces mechanics, and I don't think this is anywhere near as nuanced or impressive as the version in Inscription, and maybe I'm giving Dark Room too much credit. But I still think it's cool. Sidebar over. After this expansion, the gameplay loop becomes stoke fire, go to forest, collect wood, wait for cooldown. Stoke fire, go to forest, collect wood, wait for cooldown. And this continues until the builder wakes up. A second rapid expansion of your magic circle happens when the builder wakes up. The stranger is standing by the fire. She says she can help, says she builds things. Builder says she can make a cart for carrying wood. Builder says she can make traps to catch any creatures might still be alive out there. Oh, pause, by the way. Still be alive out there, in case you couldn't tell, is major foreshadowing. Keep that in your head for later, because woof, that is at the center of what is up with this world. So, resume. Suddenly, you're able to build traps or a cart. And having a cart allows you to collect more wood each time you collect wood. I believe it's up to 50 from 10. Whereas having a trap adds a new resource entirely. Well, 2 new resources technically, fur and meat. Both of which are not useful yet, but will become very useful very soon. And that is mostly it for this part. Eventually, you unlock huts, which allow people to start just randomly arriving and taking refuge. And then you can assign workers to do various things that grant you additional wood and fur for each tick, so you don't have to click the button every time. Honestly, it very much reminds me of those Roblox Tycoon games. If you've ever played Roblox, I'm sure you've heard of these, or you just start out with nothing and you slowly unlock more and more machines, and you just expand. And that's kind of it. Except, there's something very wrong with this world. And at this point, the only clues are, in addition to the initial description of the trap, whenever a wanderer shows up, it always uses words like stumble in or take refuge, implying that they're fleeing from something, that the outside world is no longer hospitable, no longer okay, and that this village and these huts are the only refuge that they can find. But we'll get to that. So eventually, as you unlock more and more resources, you can build different buildings, and like now your workers can take one resource in exchange for another. Like I believe Trapper, you trade meat, but get bait, which makes your traps more effective. And there's a bunch of trade-offs like that. And then it just kind of remains the same for a good long while. Occasionally you'll have events where usually animals break in and steal stuff or attack you, which again indicates that something is wrong out there if they're this desperate. And there's one moment that I thought was really cool. I'd always assumed that this may just, I don't even know if this is a conscious game design decision. This may have just been like my skewed interpretation being upended. But when I hear beast, I assumed like, oh, wolves. They're breaking in, they're stealing stuff, they're attacking, they're killing people. But at one point, it said a beast has broken into the stores. You try to track it, you find nothing but small scattered scales. And again, I don't know if this was intentional. They could have just intended, oh, it's big lizards from the beginning. But I still think that, whoa, that's not a wolf. What is that? What's out there is a really cool way to kind of upend what you think you knew what was going on and that sort of thing. And this part is completely unscripted, which is why I'm leaving in all the ums and uhs and stuff. But sidebar over. Back to the main point. So eventually you unlock a trading post, which is not a big paradigm shift with the magic circle, but it directly leads to something that is. And that is the compass. It takes a good while to save up for the compass at this point, and that's very, very deliberate. You need a bunch of scales, a bunch of teeth, and a bunch of fur. But when you do, it is the single biggest expansion and change and engagement that there is in the entire game. And my spoiler warning is going to go here. If any of what I've said so far sounds cool or interesting, check A Dark Room out. It is free online. Just search A Dark Room or Doublespeak Games into Google, and you will find it. It's awesome. It's long. It's dark. And then come back here and hear my thoughts on the rest of the game. Because once you buy the compass, things change in such a way that I do not want to spoil. I mean, I always ignore these spoiler warnings, but hopefully you will be smarter. So go play the game before you listen to this. Or don't. It's your choice. If you really don't care, you can just keep watching. So you buy the compass and instantly something changes. For the second time, another tab is added along the top. A dusty path. And here, you're able to select and equip items to embark on something. And this is where it becomes a true adventure game. Because the first time you embark, you are met with a map of sorts, with every item composed of these little text characters. You are an @ sign, your home is an A, and various sites are marked with V's or O's. As you walk through this map, occasionally you are randomly attacked by beasts or birds, and if you're able to, you can kill them to receive extra fur or scales or teeth. However, there is a catch to this strange new world. You only have a certain amount of water and meat If you stay out too long, you will perish of starvation and thirst. That happened to me a lot early on. And this becomes even more dangerous because you will often be consuming meat during your fights because it provides you with valuable healing. This means that exploring the outside is a delicate balancing act where you have to time when you eat, when you fight, and when you start heading home, because any wrong moves can lead to an untimely death, in which case you lose all your stuff, which is not good. And what's super interesting about the ability to adventure is that while it is the biggest paradigm shift in the entire game, it is also the slowest. Because once you encounter it, you're like, oh, that's cool, and your gameplay loop becomes go do one of those every couple minutes in between clicking the check trap, collect wood buttons, and saving up for whatever you want to buy. But as you go on, and as you buy more stuff, and more options stop becoming available for you to purchase, it slowly takes over more and more of what you're spending your time doing, until eventually you're spending 90% of your time out adventuring, and you only occasionally come back either to replenish supplies or you die. And at that point, you take the opportunity to click the buttons and see if you can buy anything. So it has this very elegant way of like slowly inserting itself more and more into your magic circle as it goes on. But the outside is bizarrely hostile. When I first played the game, I thought it was like, oh, this is just some weird, like, fantasy survival thing. That's why I'm, like, actually working to wander around and am fighting stuff, because it's not modern day. Humans haven't tamed the entire world yet. But then it mentions wanderers, scavengers, ruined cities, all of the descriptors and various encounters, again, hint that something very bad has happened. And it's still not clear what that is, but it works in tandem with the clues presented earlier about the animals and the people fleeing from the outside world to really build this sense of, like, unease. Because I actually think the text-based nature works in its favor a lot. Because if you were playing a 3D game, and you were like doing this thing and you're walking around, I picture it as being very similar to like Fallout or something. And it's like, oh, it's a post-apocalypse. There's like a desert and stuff. But with text-based, you don't know exactly what stuff looks like. All you get are these vague descriptors, and it can lead into like a holy crap moment later on if they ever get more specific. For example, the part I mentioned earlier with the beast and the scales, and a much larger twist later on. So anyway, you're doing this adventuring, and it's like, again, vaguely, bizarrely just ruined and wrecked, and it's you don't really know what's happening. Eventually, if you go far enough out, you encounter soldiers, either having taken over various mines that you have to clear out and take in order to produce iron, coal, and sulfur, or just out in the wilderness, soldiers and snipers, making it clear that no, this is quite modern, and yes, something bad has happened. Something that requires these military men to just be here. Like, why are they here? What's going on? And then you find a borehole. A huge hole is cut deep into the earth, evidence of the past harvest. They took what they came for and left. Cast off from the mammoth drills can still be found by the edges of the precipice. And lying in the hole are 2 pieces of alien alloy. So this video is about like 99% voiceover. This is all, I recorded this as specifically as background footage, and now I'm sitting here doing a voiceover. But this is the one time where I want to play a clip from my initial recording and just show you what my reaction was. What? What? Hey, a dark room. Area 51 called. They want their gimmick back. So yeah, my reaction was a little confused, a little taken aback, and a little like, oh no, they just jumped the shark. But I would like to give a formal apology to Doublespeak Games and A Dark Room, because you guys really... Sorry, what? Excuse me? Oh crap. Hey, I'm getting a call from Past Finn. Turns out he hasn't actually finished the game yet? Really? Well, I guess I'll have to record more footage. I will be back after I finish the game and can actually give some thoughts on the second half.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
So, I finished the game, and I'm pretty confused. So first off, I think I need to start this section by clarifying that I have played this game before. 5 or so years ago, me and my dad picked it up on the iPad because it looked kind of cool and played through to the end. The free online version has slightly less stuff than the iPad, notably the infamous slaves plot point. And I believe there's a couple other stuff, but let's start with the slaves. So, at a certain point in the dark room, something in the feedback feed, it starts referring to the workers as slaves, and this is really the big turning point when you're finally, like, at this point, you know, like, weird, post-apocalypse, but at this point, you know that something is not right with your character, and with you, and I don't know if I just missed it or if it's genuinely only in the iOS version, but I honestly feel a little unfulfilled because that's one of the few plot points I remember from my initial playthrough, and the fact that I didn't get it on this second playthrough for the commentary was a bit of a bummer because it was really like a whoa, holy crap moment, and it's a bummer that didn't happen. Also, in the iOS, they flesh out the Wanderers a bit more. At one point, I believe you find a 4-armed corpse or something. And that will make a lot more sense in a little while after I do a... So this takes place some time in modern day or in the near future. And at some point, aliens happen. They're known as the Wanderers throughout the game, and is kind of unclear, but my best guess is that the alien caused some sort of apocalypse, and most likely that it's related to the massive boreholes. They wanted the underground resources that Earth had, and so, I don't know, presumably they went to war. And this is supported by the boreholes where they're drilling stuff out where you first find the alien alloy, and also some other stuff. So a lot of humanity is wiped out. It becomes this post-apocalypse thing. Soldiers are wandering all over, and people take refuge in the in cities and shelters. But the big twist of the game is that you are one of these aliens. You are one of the Wanderers. And this is spurred by a couple things. First of all, the soldiers and many of the Wanderers and Scavengers attack you on sight, even when they're shown to be living in peaceful communities with other humans, such is the case with occasional encounters you can have where instead of just like one or two hostile scavengers, it's like a whole little community. Yet they attack you on sight, which indicates that something's weird there. I also believe that the builder, the first person who wakes up, is one of these wanderers, and this is never explicitly stated in the game, but I believe it was something iOS. Also, right at the end, I'm gonna play the end now. You go to space and you ride a spaceship, and the opening text for this is the Wanderer fleet is just above the clouds. You have lingered on this rock for too long, or something quite similar, which is the final confirmation that this is not your home. And the fact that the villagers are slaves signifies you just, again, you're an alien. You care not for their lives. Your species came down here to take their resources and kill their planet. So you are using them to attempt to get back home. And again, a lot of this is in the iOS. I believe that at one point the builder like sacrifices herself. This is from half-remembered clips from 5 years ago and random like 5-second YouTube dark room ending that don't actually show the ending that well. I would play through again on my iPad, but it's a long game. It's like 5 to 6 hours. However, if any of what I've said sounds interesting, I highly encourage you to both check out the online version, which is free, or the iOS version, which is only 99 cents and comes with that and a bunch of developer commentaries. So, yeah, I don't really have a ton else to say on this. I wanted to make like just a video essay thing, and I feel like Inscription has already been talked to death, so I'm like, what other niche game I know that is really what other niche game do I know that is really underappreciated? He says, as though Inscription is either niche nor underappreciated, and I can make a video about. And I saw there was only one video on a dark room, and it was aside from like random clips from his Nintendo Switches, and it was about minimalism. Which check that out. Just search dark room. There's not very much there, and you'll find it. So I decided to make one that's just more focused on the game as a whole. I don't know if this is going to be a regular thing for me. I just wanted to make a fun little video essay. I'd have to say, out of 10, I rate a dark room in 8. Very spooky, very atmospheric. It does not have the most engaging gameplay, and up until you reach the point with the map, it plays more like an idle game, which idle games can be cool. Look at Cookie Clicker. But it doesn't really help it tell its story. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye, beautiful people.